Atoms are the basic building block of matter. An atom is the basic building block of matter. Basic meaning it is the smallest particle which makes up matter. So an atom contains of the nucleus and the shell. So on the shell of an atom we find negatively charged particles which orbit the nucleus called the electrons. Electrons are negatively charged particles which are found on the shell orbiting the nucleus. While inside the nucleus we have protons and neutrons. Protons are positively charged particles while neutrons have no charge, they are neutral. So for an atom to maintain balance, it has to have the same number of protons and neutrons. Therefore, we will say the atom is neutral. The atom is neutral because it has no extending charge. Apart from that, we also have atomic number and atomic mass. So the atomic number is the number of protons in an atom. The atomic number is the number of protons in an atom. So the number of protons, as I said, is always equal to the number of electrons. And this number is called the atomic number. Every atom has a certain number of protons in its nucleus, and that number is called the atomic number. And then we have the atomic mass. The atomic mass is the total number of particles in the nucleus. That is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So the atomic mass is the total number of particles in a nucleus. That is the atomic mass plus that is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. An element is a chemical substance which contains the same atoms. An element is a chemical substance which contains the same atoms and cannot be broken down into further particles. So an element on the periodic table, the element is displayed like this. So it shows the atomic number on top, which is the number of protons in the nucleus, the chemical symbol, which shows the type of atom, and the atomic mass, which is the total number of particles in the nucleus. That is the number of neutrons plus the number of protons. So on the periodic table, elements are grouped like this. We have groups which go like this, and the periods which go like this. So groups or elements of the same groups have the same number of electrons on the outermost shell of an atom. Elements in the same group, for example, in the first group where we have hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. These elements have got the same number of electrons in the outermost shell because they are in the same group. On the periodic table, we have 8 groups. These groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we have periods. Periods are shown in this way. We have 7 periods. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So elements grouped in the same period have got the same number of shells. Elements grouped in the same period contain or have the same number of shells. So periodic table offer to label taikwata. First of all, ama elements ayaboku. Ama elements ayaboku tuetati amanobo gases. Yena amanobo gases tashita react ne frictions yeba unreactive. And then taikwata ama elements pari akakamutando. Ama elements pari akakamutando aya pamuru na panshi akamutando. Pamuru na panshi akamutando except aluminium. yonse yaliba twetata ma metalloids yonse ma metalloids, and then yaliba semi-conductive ma semiconductors yashitafe conduct panonwa light na heat, and then twakwata ayambe ashara twakwata ayambire ali kuso neiso aya ma non-metals ama non-metals yonse tashita conduct heat na light, and then twakata nomba fyonse fyashara ifi fyaboku fyena fima metals ama metals yena yarashita conduct heat na light, and then yaliba malleable na ductile. Malleable meaning kuwa benamika wayarusha ifyapara waya, and then ductile kuwa popa nga wapopa kuya yaruka flat kwati fili okupanga amalata but nga wabure chintu chitechi non-metal, for example gas nangu amenshi nangu plastic tetu chipope charuka flat. For atoms to come together to make a molecule, they need to bond. Bonding occurs in 3 different ways. We have ionic bonding, covalent bonding, and metallic bonding. So we're going to start with ionic bonding. Ionic bonding is the type of bonding which occurs between a metal and a non-metal. Another name for ionic bonding is electrocovalent bonding. So what happens is that when a metal and a non-metal bond, a metal shares its electron. It sends off its electron to the non-metal. Since electrons are negatively charged, when these two atoms bond, the metal sends off its electron to the non-metal and it remains positively charged, while the non-metal which received the extra negative bond or the extra electron becomes negatively charged. Whenever ionic bonding occurs between two elements, the metal always remains positively charged and the non-metal becomes negatively charged because the metal sends off one of or two or it sends off its electron to the non-metal. So in this process, the compounds formed have got certain characteristics. Some of the characteristics of the compounds formed due to ionic bonding are: they have a high melting point, they are hard and brittle. Brittle feel ati nachikosa nga wachiponya panshi probably chatobeka. They dissociate into ions when dissolved in water. Nga twanda chashita dissociate into ions nga twashita dissolve menshi nishi yarasanka yararekana kweba ati nga twachikwata sodium na chlorine. Sodium ni metal, chlorine ni non-metal, and then nafupanga sodium chloride. So file ila fya bondi nokupanga ile nga chakoba ati twashita dissolve menshi ni sodium parwaiko yarashala sodium ion yaraba ion pantu taikwete imo electron, and then chlorine naine yaraba chlorine ion pantu naikwata extra electron. Whenever atom loses or gains an electron, it becomes an ion. Another characteristic is they can conduct electricity when dissolved. In a dissolved state, they can conduct electricity. In a solid state, they cannot conduct electricity. They can conduct electricity in a melted state. Covalent bonds are bonds which occur between nonmetals. So what happens in nonmetals is that atoms share electrons. Since there is no metal to give a nonmetal an electron, in covalent bonds, atoms just simply share electrons. An example is this water molecule. This water molecule was formed from nonmetals, which is the hydrogen atom and the oxygen atom. These atoms are nonmetals. So if vyatsikavako vati utuma hydrogen tubiro tuso na oxygen fyayikatana fyamba okuchita share ama electrons o fyapanga iyi covalent bonds ya H2O oro amenshi. So naye nama covalent bonds yarikwata ama characteristics. The first characteristic is they exist as gases or liquids. Ama covalent bonds yanatashitapo exist as ama metals. And then they have a low melting point as compared to ionic bonds. Ama ionic bonds yanatoshanda yakwata high melting points. Ama covalent bonds yakwata low melting points. And then yariba insoluble mumenshi, meaning tashita dissolve mumenshi, but they are soluble in organic substances. That is, iko yashita dissolve organic substances. If you para petrol ni organic substance. So covalent chintu cha element yapangirwa na covalent bonds tetishita dissolve mumenshi, but iko yashita dissolve muri petrol. And then insulators, that is, they do not conduct heat and electricity. The third and final method of bonding is metallic bonding. So muri metallic bonding, bonds exist between metal ions in a sea of electrons. Ngama kushafu tuachiranda pa first tuachiranda an ion ipangika ngachako vat electron yashita lose ngachako vat atom yashita lose or gain electron. So whenever an atom loses or gains an electron, it becomes an ion. So muli metallic bonds epanga ama metals, chimetal chonse chiranga machikata chaikwata ngamabula chi ion chonse chiri mukati chimoneka. So iyi ni example of it. Let's say iyi ni ka metal ion, meaning takakwate nakaluzina nangu nakagainina nan electron, but in this case toanda nakaluzina electron nakanika metal ion nakaluzina electron. So mba metal ions yaliba positively charged pantu ama protons yali fulapo, but ama protons yali umuso yarambo kita attract nama electrons. Ama electrons aba free umuso muri C aba free umuso. So tonso tuma negative tuma electrons, turashita attract ama protons aba mukati yama atoms umuso. So lomba bonds iri between akaso na akaso, bonds iri between ion na ka electron yali kosa. Same na bonds iri between in electron na ion iriumu, so meaning akakala kosa. But the same happens konzo, meaning chonse pamwaze ho chala kosa. Pamulandu nama attraction ali between ama electrons ali umuso free nama protons ali mukati muri nucleus yama metal ions. So lomba metal ions or metallic bonds yakwata ama physical characteristics ni same na dai ama characteristics yama metals yonse. That is, they conduct heat, they are good conductors of heat. They have high melting and boiling points. A majority of metals have high melting and boiling points, and they are malleable and ductile. Ngafeta chite explain malleable ipiri urati kuwa ipomba muri waya rusha waya, and then ductile kuwa chipopa charuka flat.